Morning. How you doing today? Hmm. Oh yeah. I'm on my third cup of coffee of the day. My first cup was polar peppermint, and this is my second cup of that triple chocolate, which I enjoy. Well, I enjoy that polar peppermint too. So that's some pretty good stuff. I think that ought to be a regular flavor instead of seasonal. Well, I don't know. But that's the way it is, I guess. Anyhow, well, I don't know, but usually I I really kind of like to keep things on the light side and not get into all real controversial issues such as politics and that kind of stuff. I just want to have a good time most of the time, but there is one thing that's kind of stuck in my craw here lately, and it's this. And my brother, he's a pretty smart guy, and he has a real good solution to it too. And that's what I wanted to tell you about. But I guess I have to tell you about what I'm upset about here. Well, I'm not sure you call it upset, but it just kind of sticks in my craw. But here recently, when it comes to hiring, it's my belief and my brother's that it should be a process that that actually looks for the best candidate for any job, most qualified, the person that can do the job. And it doesn't matter, it should not matter, you know, any of these fool things like, oh, you know, race. It should not be a qualification for any job, race. There's good people. Good people come in all colors. And it's like I told one black man, which I didn't care he was black. It's the thing of it is he come down here to the farm and bought some stuff off of me. And he said he was kind of nervous coming down here because he was black. And I told him, I could care less, what color you are. I really don't care. As long as your money is green, that's all that mattered to me. That's, well, I'm not saying that's exactly the same thing as applying for a job. But, if I was hiring somebody and he came to me, I wouldn't care what color he was. If you came to me, I wouldn't care what color you are. There's people have all different kind of talents, all different. Some people are good at one thing or another. There's things that I'm real good at, and there's things that I ain't worth a hoot. But there's other people that are good at it. See, well, we're all different that way, and to have as a prerequisite for any job, what color you are is wrong. Wrong. It's wrong. Wrong. I don't care who you are, who's the person looking at hiring Doesn't matter who you are, it's wrong, you know? I mean, God, what are you thinking? You know, you know, people are, once you get under this skin, we're all the same, you know? That's it. I don't know. Anyhow, this is not the way I wanted to tell you, but, it's kind of upsetting. And to have a man in the highest office in the land that's looking to hire somebody for a very important job come out and say flat out that, okay, I'm going to hire this certain person, has to be this color and this sex. Now that is wrong. Everybody should be enraged about that. The whole country. All of us. That is totally wrong. I just don't get it. I really don't. And this sex discrimination. I think there's probably jobs that are better suited to a man than a woman, and there's probably jobs that are better suited to a woman than a man. And I'm not an expert on that. Of course, I'm not really much of an expert on a lot of stuff, but as the whole scheme of the whole world goes. But I wouldn't know. There's a lot of jobs that either sex can do equally as well. There again, it should go to the most qualified individual. And this, people are discriminated over other things, age, I think, I've been discriminated against on that when looking for a job because age, and, but, I can't tell you definitely for sure, but, I believe I was. But, people are discriminated against because of other things too, It's a big world, and people have been, discriminated against for, like hiring for all kinds of things. At one time, if you were Irish, or whatever, yeah, your ethnicity should not enter into it at all. Shouldn't. It's unfortunate that has been this kind of thing go on, but it shouldn't go on. It's, in an ideal world. Anyhow, before I too long into this, I'm gonna tell you that my brother's idea is that when you apply for a job, the application should just be issued a number, and they shouldn't even look at your name when they're hiring you, because sometimes somebody's name can imply things, like my name's Randy. I'm pretty sure that doesn't imply anything. Well, not in this country, but there's other parts of the world where Randy means something, because like I talked to a guy from Australia that told me, well, no, you couldn't use your name, because that means like body, or it's some kind of, can't really explain it, but But my brother says, these applications, like you could fill them out online. Okay. And you're issued a number, and there's no indication of sex, color, or anything. And, but, and that's a pretty good idea. And I don't know, I can't exactly tell you how he had it figured out, but when they interview you, it shouldn't be in person, and maybe some kind of technology to disguise the applicant's voice should be used, because sometimes you can tell if it's a man or a woman by your voice, I mean, a lot of times men have deeper voices than women, and that's not always the case. There are some men with high voices. Look at Michael Jackson. He had a high voice. But anyhow, I think that's a pretty good way. I mean, if we could come up with a system of that, but it's not a thing that should be practiced. That color deal or that sex deal, really shouldn't be used. And there's other things that like your credit rating. Okay, so this person has had some bad luck in their life. All right, so they're coming to you for a job, and they're qualified, except, well, their credit's not so good because, they've had some hard times, and they went through some hard knocks. Hell, well, they're not applying for a loan. They're applying for a job. That credit rating shouldn't be used except if you're, like, asking for a loan. Shouldn't even be done in car insurance and all that crap that they do. It shouldn't enter into it at all. That's just a way to keep somebody that's down. Just kick them when they're down. Keep them down. Yeah. Don't let them pull themselves up by their bootstraps. No, let's pass that job down to some other idiot, Maybe they're not as qualified as that, person. Yeah. Yeah. There was a time in my life when I decided I didn't want to be a truck driver anymore. I had kids and a wife, and the problem with trucking is that you can't make any money at home, And most of the local jobs were kind of a joke compared to what you could make by traveling all over, It just was not much comparison. And so I went to college, and I did well, and I took computer science. And, I understood what was going on in those computers. And so there were classes that everybody warned me about. Oh, you're going to hate machine language. It's just ones and zeros, and that's all. It's terrible. Terrible. Machine language is terrible. And, I got to that class, and I liked it because I could understand what was going on, I can visualize the little electrons running around in the computer. My mind works that way. And so, I was one of the very few people that ever get approved to tutor that class while I was taking it. And I tutored other classes because I was real good at that. Oh boy, I understood what was going on in those programs and stuff. I understand that stuff. That's the way my mind works. But okay, well, there's a lot of these people that they had a hard time with some of those classes, and I helped them through, tutoring them and but you know, they they had job fairs at school there in the college, and we noticed this funny thing, at these job fairs, and like some of the real big employers in Des Moines were well, they had two piles of resumes. We made resumes and we'd hand them out at these job fairs to prospective employers where we might want to go to work. And the funny thing is that those two piles was if you were male, your application went in one pile, and if you were female, it went in another. So right there, they were sorting you out, sorting you by sex. It was obvious if you watched them, everybody'd come hand their resume, and yeah, two piles. One of my classmates noticed that, and then every job fair they had, we watched them, and yeah, it's the way they did it. Two piles. So they knew this pile was the female pile, so this was the people that the recruiters had come to talk to. This pile, the male pile, they weren't interested in recruiting you at all. No, there wasn't nothing you were going to get in Des Moines without more education. That's not a good thing. Not a good thing. And I don't know. The thing of it is, at the time, it was those, kind of backed by our federal government, because there was this promised jobs thing where they took all these unwed mothers and people that had practiced poor judgment in that way. There's ways to avoid that kind of complication in your life, and it's readily available, and and it could involve everything from the pill to just not doing it. I mean, come on, think about it. Think about the act. But anyhow, that's who these employers wanted to hire, because they somehow got reimbursed by the federal government for all this, So that gave them an incentive to discriminate between this pile and this pile by sex. So that's actually endorsed discrimination by our government, which is not right. Not right. Should not be. Should not have been. So when I graduated, I'd been a good student for, I wasn't a spring chick at the time. I was actually in my 40s when I graduated. And so that's probably another thing that counted against me was, my fresh face might have showed a little age, I was not, So, anyhow, there was no employers. I applied, but there was no employers that wanted to deal with me, hire me in this state, I mean, there were employers that wanted to hire me, okay? Don't get me wrong. Stupid allergies here. My nose is running. Sorry. But, don't get me wrong, but, anyhow, uh, East Coast where they wanted me. I could have got a job in New York City. I really did consider going to North Carolina. There was an employer there, that wanted to hire me, and North Carolina didn't sound like such a bad place. Could have drove to the beach on weekends. Hey, sounded okay. And there was one in Buffalo, New York, which, that location really did not appeal to me at all. Had about the same appeal as New York City, Somehow, I just have never had the desire to be in New York City. Guess I'm too much of a country boy, but anyhow, so I told my wife that, I'm considering going to North Carolina. And, you see, and the whole idea was I could spend more time with my wife and kids than being a trucker where you're gone all the time. And, anyhow, so she just flat refused to move. She was not moving to North Carolina. That was too far from her mom, and she liked it down here on the farm, and she just wasn't going to go. I could go, I guess, was what she said. But if I went, it was going to be without her and the kids. So I had that choice, And I that's what the choice I had. So I spent all that time and money in college, and what I ended up with was I ended up going back to the truck, which I really didn't want to do. And I was done with the trucker life, I'd have loved it if I was single, but being married with kids, I just really did not want to be, always gone. Always gone. So, in that way, I feel I was discriminated against, both sexual discrimination and in probably age, And so, I mean, according to some people, being a white male, you got all the breaks in the world, but, I guess I never got them breaks, Yeah, this is really not this is too serious a subject that I shouldn't be encroaching on here, but still, like I say, it's stuck in my craw. It's affected my life. I went to college, and it would have been a lot better to waste all that money on a new Corvette for all the good it's done me. And there again, when my health got so bad that I couldn't truck anymore, because I couldn't pass the dang DOT physical. Anyhow, I was convinced that with my college degree, I could get a decent job. And I tried. I really tried. I tried hard. I applied and applied and applied at places, and no interest at all. Then no interest at all. nobody out there wants to hire an old guy. I mean, I was 4 months from 60 years old when I got fired from my trucking job because I couldn't pass that physical so anymore, and so that was it. I thought, yeah, I'm I'm still young enough. I can work. I can do something. I'm not that bad crippled up that I couldn't do something, but there was nobody out there that I could find wanted to hire an old guy on the gimp. Yeah, I don't walk too good, sometimes, and, some days are better than others. Some days I have a heck of a time just getting up out of bed and going to the bathroom, you know. And sometimes I don't make it without falling over, and, and, and the dang pain shoots up my legs, oh, my left leg especially, and, the leg just won't support you, you know, and, but, you know, I could sit at a desk and perform a job with a computer science degree. You would think that somebody would have hired me, but no, so eventually my wife said, well, you're going to apply for disability. And that shamed me. I didn't want to do that. I'll tell you. I felt like, I felt shamed. That's not something I thought I should do. But I did it. And, I'd always heard that people have a hell of a time getting on that disability, but that wasn't my experience. Of course, I guess my body's boogered up bad enough that I was approved like the first time. That was it. I applied, and it just automatically, I went to their doctors, and they looked at my medical records, and yeah, I sailed through that like nothing, but it's not what I wanted to do. And so I'm on that Social Security disability. It's not a good income. But it is. I do get so much every month, steady, But I don't know. I'm kind of ashamed to even admit some of that stuff. It's not something I ever really wanted to go into, but I think we should take a good hard look as a nation what's going on, I mean, when the commander in chief does something like that, it should shame the whole nation, We should not be doing that. That's just to me it's really not some place that somebody in charge should be going. It's not leading. That's going down a bad road. I'm not the expert, but I don't know. It's that's it. I think my life would have been a lot different if we didn't have these idiots making these rules, and setting this example. That's Anyhow, probably stuff I shouldn't have got into. Probably stuff I shouldn't admit to. But it is danged irritating. I don't know. I'm never gonna be anything great or lead a nation or any of that kind of bull lungy, but that is something that should anger probably about everybody. I'm thinking everybody. I know there's quite a few people that have mentioned that since we heard that one. You know, that the color or the sex or none of that stuff should have anything to do with the job, with looking for a qualified candidate. And I know from being a truck driver to you know, being on the Supreme Court, it should be all the same standard. The best candidate, the person with the best driving record and the most experience should get the trucking job, as well as the person that's done the best job in court. And I have no idea about the qualifications of that stuff. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not, not a judge. Never gonna be. But, there's other judges that should judge that, I suppose. And, and actually, as a nation, we should all judge that kind of, hiring policy. So, I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. Have a good day. I'm going to finish enjoying my coffee. Happy Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Yeah. Hump day. Bye-bye.